Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Jacob here. And who else is with me?
I'm not here.
Fantastic.
And
Who else
DigiCast is back.
here?
Get hyped, everyone. Get hyped! DigiCast is back.
Yeah, I realized that pretty much right after I rendered the last episode we did, which was 2 weeks ago now, I completely forgot to put a little blurb at the beginning saying, "Excuse me everyone, we'll be gone for a week because I have a thing that I have to do which is called a wedding and a honeymoon, so I wasn't going to be here." And I literally did not have time to even send all the assets over to Scott to develop an episode with just him and Nathaniel, so we just didn't have one last week. So if you were waiting for that, I apologize. That is my bad.
And he
as
still
the
has
cool
not
kids
sent
say.
me those assets.
I still have not.
I'm still
been
waiting
busy.
for those.
I've been busy.
How's
I'm a busy boy.
how's married life? What does it feel like to have a wife and such?
It feels pretty normal.
Do you feel like an adult? Like you feel old?
I actually do. I really do. Like I feel like nothing physically or because whatever. Nothing has really changed, I guess, in my life except for I guess that marital bond now. Because I mean we're already living together, so like nothing really has changed. I guess it's just the meaning behind it's changed.
Right.
So, I mean it's chill. I like it. I'm having a good time. I just have to get used to wearing this ring on my finger. I take it off and spin it like all the time. Yeah.
Don't lose it.
Yeah.
That would be
That'll be
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure I will someday. I'm sure I will lose it someday. But yeah, Boston was good. That's where we went on our honeymoon. It was fantastic. The only annoying thing about it was there are these duck tours, right? And I was so excited because I saw that there were duck tours. And then Elise told me that the duck was actually because that was a World War II vehicle. And I did not realize that that was a type of vehicle. So it was actually just something that drives on land and then goes into the sea. And I thought I was going to see hordes of friggin' ducks, and I did not see one damn duck. And I was so upset about that.
Oh man.
But I mean, the actual tour itself was cool. I mean, they just drove us around this like big behemoth tank-like thing that can also travel on water through Boston, and then we went on the Charles River, so that was fun. But there were no ducks, so that was infuriating.
And you were kept for so long from getting to play Color Splash.
Yes, I was. I was also.
I know. That must have been awful.
It was pretty bad. No, I had a good time, but I'm happy to be back. Yeah, it's good to be back home. Happy all the wedding stuff is over. To be honest, it was getting stressful, all the planning and everything. So I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, and I feel like I did jack shit compared to what Elise did. So I can't even imagine what she feels like. So that's good. But you did mention Color Splash, and I'm gonna talk about that after I talk about you guys a little bit. What you been up to?
I'll let Nathaniel go first.
Sure. So on Wednesday, I finally got. Well, me and Cassie, we both finally got a 3DS capture card.
Thank God.
And oh my, people, it's a big deal because I can't tell you how many times people are like, "Hey, make a top 10 about Super Mario 3D Land." Well, I couldn't because I didn't want to, steal footage from someone else on YouTube. Like, I'll do it every once in a while and then credit them in the description, but not for a whole video. I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah.
So I finally have one. I'm going to replay 3D Land. Probably not enjoy it because I don't remember enjoying that game that much, but that's okay.
I was about to say, why are you punishing yourself?
Well, like, and when I say, I'm not going to, I'm not, like, super, super excited about it. Like, it'll be fun, I'm sure, because the game is pretty fun. It's just my least favorite out of all the 3D Mario games.
There are worse Mario games that you could make top 10s about, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, like, the main 3D ones. It's definitely the most mediocre out of all of them. And I was really surprised. Like, it's super easy to set up. It's just a USB, you plug it in, and there's no lag on the computer. Zero latency. You can You can record 1080p 60 frames a second, and it's fantastic.
I thought that you had to like send your 3DS off to get modded or something.
Actually, someone on Twitter offered it to me. He's like, "Hey, you want to buy one?" And it was like $10 cheaper than usual, for like the cheapest price. So yeah, he just sent it over.
Oh, yeah. I thought you had to send. I thought there was like one company that did it, and you had to send off your 3DS to get modded or something, and they.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. But he told me he had a spare capture card, and I was like, "Okay, you have a spare capture card? Okay."
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, "Sure, I'll take it," because he was offering a pretty good deal for it.
Sweet. Yeah, I always wanted a 3DS capture card. Yeah, there's so much shit you can do. The 3DS has amazing games on it. I would love to have had one, but I just never felt like shelling out the money for it.
Yeah, it's really only worth it if you're going to make the money back on the capture card, which I know I will over time, because I'm going to make a lot of, Pokemon Sun and Moon videos, Mario 3D Land. I'm probably going to use Mario Kart 7 footage at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have to talk about Mario Kart all the time. But yeah, that was the highlight of my week, I guess.
What about you?
How about you, Scott?
Scotty Scott. I know you haven't been working on a Gamefinity, so what the hell else did you do?
Just laid around, slept, ate.
Yeah, I did nothing, living off the government, you piece of shit.
So, actually, I've been working quite a lot on different things. I've been doing some side work, some side projects and such. But today, I did some housekeeping on the game that I've been developing. It's still on hold, and I have not taken it off hold, but I was kind of doing some stuff for planning on taking it off hold, and I was looking at the project timeline, and I just posted it to you guys in the Skype chat shortly before we started recording, and it's really sad because it's like a diagram basically showing like a flat line, basically like nothing is happening, but that's making me increasingly sad. I really want to get back to work on it, because every time I think about it, like it was like 6 weeks ago that I was last doing significant work on it, I think, and it feels like it was yesterday. But then I think about it and I'm like, holy crap, that was 6 weeks ago, and then I just get so like sad. So like at some point, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but at some point I got to figure out how to get the project rolling again. But yeah, I have been really tied up. I have a new Gamefinity in the works. I recorded the footage for it. It's in post. It's being edited slowly. It will be online. I might even get it online this week. It should happen pretty soon. And that's on Real-Time Strategy Games. And speaking of strategy games, maybe not real-time strategy, but I was also playing a lot of Democracy 3 this past week. I confess, I was taking some time off because like stress was making me like freak out and like have nervous breakdowns.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
yeah, you gotta have that every now and then. I've been doing that lately, for sure.
And you guys also knew that like at my main day job this past week, they banned personal coffee machines in the office.
The coffee police.
And I freaked out. I freaked out because I have a cup of coffee in my hand right now, and like I drink like 7 cups a day.
That is so
Actually,
bad
you
for
shouldn't do that, because my uncle recently had a heart attack in his 40s because he was drinking too much coffee in a day.
Is that what the doctor said?
No, that's what literally happened. He had a heart attack in his 40s because he was drinking too much coffee.
I liked how Scott was ready to pounce on you. He was like, is that what the doctor said? Is that what the doctor said? Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm just an addict, okay?
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm a Dr. Pepper
I'm
addict,
addicted to
but
caffeine
I don't have
too.
7 cups a day.
But
I don't have 7 cups every
much.
day. I usually have like a minimum of 2, and then I have.
Is that right?
Some
that's
days
what an addict would say.
Where I have 4 to 7 cups.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah, just the first step in a problem is just admitting that you have one,
That's right.
Scott.
Yeah.
We're here to help. All our listeners out here will help you. Guys, if you have any questions about Scott's addict, send them to ask.fm/digicades. Okay.
Yes, please. And any other questions you have for the Digicast, please send them to ask.fm/digicades.
Yes. Well, I am very sorry to hear about that problem. I, however, thought it was really funny. So.
It was, and there was also like the little like white surrender flag that I taped up onto the coffee machine.
That you put a flag on.
And I had other people around
funny.
the office
Yeah.
recognize it. I had a couple people come up and say like, "Oh, it's a pirate flag," and I was like, "What? No, a pirate flag is black with like a skull and crossbones. This is a surrender flag." And then they felt sorry for me because I have such a horrible problem that I have my own personal coffee machine on my desk. But you know what? It spread around the office. Like after I started doing it, there's like 7 other people on like in the building where I work that are doing the same thing. They have their own coffee machines and latte machines and stuff.
Oh my god, yeah. What I was telling you is you need to wean that onto some nice caffeinated green tea or something, so it's not going to be as bad for you.
Yeah,
you got to do it, man. You got to do it. Get the monkey off your back.
I'm just not ready for that yet.
Yeah, 7 cups a day is way too much. Like two or three a day is fine, but anything more than that is a little.
You got to
excessive.
understand that like coffee is one of the things that brings me joy during the workday, and I don't really enjoy what I do to like a large extent. Like if I had my way, of course, I would be like just developing games full time, and then maybe I wouldn't need coffee. But my day job is really incredibly boring. It pays really well, but it's really incredibly boring, and I don't know how I would get through it without my marvelous cup of joe.
You just have to find a way, bro. If it involves leaving your house 5 minutes earlier to stop by a Starbucks, you gotta do it. That's what I do. I get my daily Dr. Pepper at the gas station right before I go to work every day.
Yeah, but I can't be paying like $3 a cup.
I used to do that.
That's what that would be Starbucks.
If that's what it means, you can do it.
Nah.
You can do it.
Nah.
Yeah. It just means not going out and getting that McDonald's cheeseburger that you treat yourself with every week. See, just do that. Just do that.
I was actually having Burger King like every single day for like 4 or 5 weeks. Like, I don't know, through August, I guess.
Burger King and coffee.
Whoa.
That's so bad.
Whoa.
Good
Well,
lord.
I won't lie. When I first started college and it was really stressful, in the morning, or no, after class, I would go to McDonald's like 3 or 4 times a week, and I would buy a Red Bull and a pack of combos every day.
That's
Man.
great. That's great.
That was like the worst I've ever eaten in my life. I only did it for like 6 months, but it was not a good time.
Yeah, I used to, constantly during college. I would down Red Bulls and Monsters, every single day. It was bad. It was getting to the point where I was noticing, like, I was having some serious internal issues with that. And they may or may not have been affecting my nether region.
My first job out of high school, I went in every morning to work with... it was a Red Bull and like a big bag of beef jerky, and I called it the Breakfast of Champions. But then eventually I upgraded to Monster, and like after like I think like a full month of drinking Monsters on the regular, I started to feel really sick one day. And like I actually got really like nauseous and realized that I had to cut it out. So
yeah, I actually got a kidney stone from drinking too much Monster a couple of years ago.
Damn.
Luckily, it was really tiny. Because, like, what happened was I basically just drank nothing but Monster for a week, and then my urine was brown for, like, a day. But I'm pretty sure...
God.
Yeah, which means, hey, there's blood in your kidneys. So I went to the doctor, and, like, I'm pretty sure I peed it out because it was a really tiny stone, because I didn't feel it. Because, like, I had to get surgery where they'd stick up the, what's it called? The urethra or whatever? The tube?
This is so much.
They
This came out of
catheterized me.
nowhere.
Hold on, let me finish. So they had to catheterize me and check my bladder to make sure, like, I didn't have, like, an infection or something. Because they didn't know why I was bleeding in my kidneys. And that wasn't the case. Like, I still don't know to this day why I was peeing blood. I think it was just a really tiny kidney stone. But yeah, Monster and Red Bull, not good. I still drink Red Bull sometimes, but that's only because I'm in college and I need to focus like 24/7.
Well, I also have a cup of water next to me on this desk. Maybe I'll just switch to that for the duration of this podcast.
That's probably a better idea. There are not many things that actually like put me on edge and make my spine tingle, but the thought of having anything shoved up my dick hole just like freaks me out.
It was not. I was knocked out, but let me tell you, it hurt like hell to pee for
I
the
bet.
next few days afterwards.
Things are not supposed to go up that hole, and no.
It was not pleasant.
Oh my god! Like I still remember when I first had like a sex education class. It was like in 6th grade, and my teacher furiously talked about STDs and talked about cramming a needle up your dick hole, and that has still scarred me like to this day. And that was well over a decade ago now. Wait, not that long,
Oof.
but that was about a decade ago, and
ago.
Still terrifies me to this day thinking about this black old guy shoving his fingers through a little hole he made and saying like, "This is what happens when you have STDs." No.
Sounds awful. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's
sound
talk
traumatized.
about Paper Mario Color Splash.
Yay!
Jacob, I really want to know though, because I was at Target earlier today. I messaged you guys on Skype wondering what is the overall verdict on Paper Mario Color Splash, and should I buy it?
I'm gonna try to sound as excited as I can right now, but I'm still thinking about needles in my urethra, so I apologize. Okay. For starters, to put it very bluntly, I love the shit out of this game.
Wow.
I love it.
Whoa.
I have been having so much fun playing this, and before people immediately be like, "Blah, blah, you said you hated this game and you made me not buy it."
That's the exact sound they make.
The exact sound. I know, perfect. I am so spot on. But I understand the history of this game and its announcement, and I wholly blame Nintendo's shitty marketing whenever they first announced this game, because they led everyone to believe that this game was just Sticker Star 2.0. It was bland. There was no life or heart or personality to it. And that's what I believed until we slowly saw like a third trailer of this game come out. I think we talked about it about 2-3 weeks ago on the podcast. It was a couple episodes ago, where the game finally started coming into its own and looked like it was something more than what I initially thought. And I'm so happy to announce that this is a really fun game. I'm not going to say it's perfect. It is certainly, in my opinion, it is nowhere near the caliber of the original or the Thousand Year Door, but I like it a whole lot better than Sticker Star, and I actually like it more than Super Paper Mario 2. It feels like something that came out in like the GameCube days and like the 6th generation of consoles. It feels like a cool blend of the Thousand Year Door and Sticker Star, and it took everything that I hated about Sticker Star and improved it. And then it took all the humor and the personality and the fun I had with Thousand Year Door and interjected it into this game. So like it's a good game. Now that's not to say it's perfect, like I've said before. Now I do still have a few issues with it, like with the battle system and stuff, but
Yeah, that's the one thing I've heard about the game, is that the battle system is still kind of crap. But
yeah, no,
it's interesting because, people either really love this game or they hate it, just like Sticker Star. So I'm really surprised to hear that you like it.
Yeah, I definitely do not hate it. I don't love it, but I'm not even close to hating it. If I had to give it like a hard-edged rating, which a lot of people like to hear for some reason, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's very, very good compared to Sticker Star, but it's just not as good as the Thousand Year Door. But the thing that really saves this game is the writing. The humor in the writing is so well timed and paced. I don't know who they fired after Sticker Star, but they hired the right person to do this, because this is really good, and it's one of the funniest games I've ever played. I mean, I am not. That's no hyperbole. This is actually one of the funniest games I've ever sat down and played. It is so well paced, and I can't get over the fact that I'm actually talking good about a Paper Mario game again, because I haven't said anything good about a Paper Mario game since 2005. So that's good. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm still kind of surprised that you even like the game to begin with.
I am too. I am too. I mean, you can ask you can ask Elise. Like, I sat down the night and I had to take a deep breath, and I was thinking I could either really love this game or I'm gonna hate it, and that terrifies me because I just spent the money to buy this game. I took the chance on it, and I'm so pleased to say that I like this game. And the main thing that this game has that Sticker Star didn't have is personality and humor. Everything feels more interconnected. Even though there is that world map, it's not as bland and lifeless as Sticker Star was. Everything, is named. All the levels just have charm and personality to them. Again, like the writing, absolutely spectacular and perfect. The game is beautiful. The music in the game is wonderful. Like, I feel like that's something a lot of people are overlooking. I constantly find myself humming the battle theme just all the time. And I'm sitting here like watching my gameplay of it, and I'm so excited to finish this podcast so I can go back and play some more. I mean, it's fun. There's no other way to put it. It's not perfect, but it's fun. And that's all I could have asked for.
And I think that's probably enough, right? Because we're at a point with the Wii U where if you want something to hold you over or to tide you over, like, hopefully this is at least something. I think that, like you said, like, chances are from what I've heard about it, at least, maybe this is not the best they could have done, but I think the fact that it's something is maybe more than what people originally hoped for.
And that sounds a little worse than what I was saying. I don't want people to get the idea that I'm just accepting this like mediocre game. It's definitely better than that. I mean, if they're going to stick with this formula for Paper Mario, I think they pretty much got it.
Yeah,
you can make this game work without RPG elements, but they kind of put some RPG elements back in. It's just not as much as the 1,000-Year Door.
I think
but it still works.
I think that with a rating of 7 out of 10, that's a playable, competent game, right? Like,
oh yeah, I'm very hard on games, and I know that. And yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's good. I think if we could just have like 4 or 5 7 out of 10s come out, then even better. I don't think we would be able to be as depressed or complain as much about the current state of Nintendo releases, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm gonna rate the Paper Mario series, it's gonna be Paper Mario 1, in my opinion, 8 out of 10. The 1,000-Year Door, 9 out of 10. This game is 7 out of 10. Sticker Star is -1 out of 10. The game's shit. Super Paper Mario is probably like a 5 out of 10. So, yeah.
So with Color Splash,
this game's good.
It's worth the $60. You're saying?
If you're on the fence about it, I'd wait till it goes on sale. I actually traded in. An old phone of all things to GameStop, and then I had like another like cheap game. I traded that in and I got like $5 more. So I ended up spending about $40 on this, and it's definitely worth that. I don't know if I'd pay a full 60 for it, to be perfectly honest, but I'd definitely pay 50, just if I'm gonna compare, I guess.
Yeah, the way you described it, it sounds like a $50 kind of game.
Yeah. I don't. If you're on the fence out there about it, I don't know if I'd go the full 60, just to be honest. But it is still a fun game. And if you got a few extra bucks laying around, maybe just take a chance on it. Like, it is interesting. I mean, there are so many things that they got right with this. It's pretty much everything about this game is good, in my opinion, aside from, I think the battle system still needs some work. And then I think that pretty much everything wrapped around the battle system. Like, I think there needs to be a little bit more incentive to fight. I think the battle system needs to be a little bit retooled and patched because it is very slow and there's a lot of steps that you have to take. With the touchscreen and like flicking the cards up and shit. And I want partners to come back. So I mean, it pretty much everything else besides the battle system stuff, in my opinion, is near. I'm not gonna say near perfect, but it's edging itself closer to that. It's very good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to talk good about this damn game because I have been so worried about this ever since it got announced, and I'm glad it's here and I can play it. And yeah, I feel good.
And 3 or 4 weeks ago, you were so negative.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like a month ago.
Oh yeah,
even
the first episode of this podcast, I was shitting all over.
Color Splash sucks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will not deny that. I will not deny that I did a complete 180 on this game. But again, like I will say, Nintendo's marketing of this was ass at the very beginning. And
It's like they really suck at marketing all their games.
Yeah.
But in the end, they usually turn out to be either good or really, really well done.
yeah, like if they would have showed off more of like the interesting levels or more of the writing and the text and the characters' reactions and things like that, in my opinion, would have been more interesting. I mean, you can tell that they heard the feedback from that first trailer to the E3 trailer, because the E3 trailer was more focused on the story elements of it and the mystery of it all. And I am genuinely curious about the story of this game. Now, it's a Mario game, so I'm not expecting anything really deep, but it's still going to be deeper and more interesting than any other Mario game I've seen in the last 5 years. So, you know what? I'll take it. It's a step in the right direction, and that's really all I was asking for at this point.
Wow, very, very, very
Oh.
nice.
So that happened.
So there's your Color Splash review, guys. You don't even have to watch anyone else's.
Yeah, that's all you need. That one
Right
right
there.
there. No IGN,
Yep.
just the Digicast. Ugh.
I want to talk a little bit about Democracy 3 because I know that many people, and I won't talk about it long because there's not a whole lot to say, to be honest, but I was playing it a lot this past week. Basically, I was freaking out from stress from working a cajillion hours, and I picked up this game off of Steam, and it's a strategy game, and it's known as a
I'm
political simulator.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm sorry. There was just this funny line that I was I'm watching this gameplay still, and there was this funny line that came back up, so I apologize. I'm going to turn this off now because I'm going to get distracted. I want to listen to Democracy 3.
golly, Jacob. Golly.
Sorry, the toad said something funny.
Didn't
I
I
can't help
tell you to
myself.
put your phone away or whatever? Turn off your screen. You got nothing. It's nothing but you and the mic right now.
It is me and the mic right now.
That's all it is.
We are one.
That's all it is.
We are one.
Continue.
Okay,
Scott.
okay. So yeah, it's a political simulator. Basically, like you run a country, you go through elections and stuff. And as everyone knows, we're in the middle of a crazy election right now. I don't want to get into the current election that we're having here in the United States.
Really?
But like that, admittedly, like the election right now is one of the things that got me interested in like checking out this game because, well, and I'm also like I'm interested in a whole lot of like nerdy stuff. But this is a weird game because it's I think it's a title that like people who really enjoy numbers or like really enjoy math. I know that's weird to say, and I know that a lot of people hate that. But I think those types of people would really enjoy this game. And I also think that like in terms of comparing to real world ideas, it does a pretty good job at kind of attacking things from a lot of different perspectives. And so like, for example, like you're managing like the company's, or not the company, the country's money. And like when you pass different policies and stuff, like you raise taxes or whatever, you'll see the effects of that. You compare it to a global economy, and occasionally you'll have like terrorist attacks, and then you'll have to ramp up military spending. But the real crazy thing about all of this is that like you never see any of this. Like it's a sim, and you know, like a lot of people out there have played like SimCity, Roller Coaster Tycoon, games like that and stuff, but one of the big differences with this is that you never like see anything. It's basically just a whole bunch of like bubbles on the screen, and you can go like look up like gameplay videos of it if you're curious. But it looks really like awful at first for the UI, but then when you get into it, you figure out that it kind of just works really well. And the interesting thing about this to me is that this is an indie title that was developed by I forget the guy's name, but it was basically created by one person. And when I look at the way that this game was made, I think it's so ingenious because there's so much to it. It's super mod friendly. So like the way that you can mod the game is everything is in CSV files, which means that you can basically like open up everything that's a part of the game in Excel, like almost every single thing. I mean, like down to like every single policy that you can pass, every single effect of like every single event and everything, you can open it up in Excel and then just like make the game however you want it. And so for modders, like people who love like getting in and creating their own experiences and stuff, this is like the perfect thing for that as well. And I really want to praise it for that. So again, not for everybody, but if you love numbers, if you like Sims, and if you like and especially if you like politics, if you've enjoyed anything we've seen with this current election, I think this would be something that you'd find really interesting.
That sounds interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
I like how we predicted this too. Like, for the podcast, we were like, well, just let Scott talk about Democracy 3, and we just won't say anything and then move on.
Well, the thing is, you guys play a lot of indie games, and I don't, so it's really hard for me to tune in into the conversation. So,
Indie schmindy.
Yeah.
And can I just say one thing about prices too? We were talking about the price of Color Splash, and talking about it feels like a $50 game versus a $60 game. Of course, I did an episode of Gamefinity on this, but I really feel like people have prices of games totally like backwards in their minds. Because I feel like games like Color Splash or any AAA title, really, like those are the games that you probably don't need to pay as much for. But I think with indie games, a lot of people these days don't realize what goes into creating those, and a lot of the time, like what kind of, especially these days, like what kind of market saturation indie developers have to break through. And so in my opinion, like it ought to be flipped around a little bit, where like if you want to play indie games, which are meant to be more unique experiences that you won't get in a AAA title, stuff that's totally non-formulaic or experimental, you ought to be willing to pay a little bit more, I think. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
I can see why you're saying that. But it doesn't economically make sense because most people aren't going to be willing to take the risk to buy something that's a brand new experience compared to something that they're already familiar with.
Right.
Yeah, the current state of gaming.
So that's really the main reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and like I totally understand why things are the way they are.
Like, yeah, it's unfair to you guys. It really is that you guys have to charge less because people aren't going to be as willing to take the risk and try something new. But I mean,
yeah, it's just
there's
one
really
of those
not much we can
things.
do
like
about that.
It is the way it is. I mean, it's
right.
Yeah,
and there's also
I get it.
like
I understand.
There's that whole culture too of like where like people say like, oh, this is indie, I can't pay more than like $25 for this, and even that's really high. Like I think that's like such a horrible attitude to have. I think that you ought to be willing to at least be like, okay, if this is a great game, I ought to be if I'm willing to pay $50 for 40 or 50 for like Color Splash, I ought to be willing to pay the same price for this if it's really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is the reason why I have bought Shovel Knight 5 times, because it is that good in my opinion that I want to pay. That's a spider floating in front of my mic. Go away.
Nothing to be scared of. Nothing to be scared of.
Eat it.
That's exactly why I bought Shovel Knight that many times. I mean, I wanted it on that many platforms, but it simply is that good of a game to me where I want to pay full retail price for that, essentially, because I bought that many copies of it. Actually, I think I ended up spending close to $100 on Shovel Knight in terms of copies, because I bought copies for other people too. Like, I like the game.
And you have the plushie.
Yeah, and I have the plushie, and I have a t-shirt. I'm a Shovel Knight fanboy. It's okay.
Ooh, I want a t-shirt, actually. That sounds awesome.
What I really am excited for, though, is Yooka-Laylee. And if that game is $60, no problemo spending that much money on that. That game looks better and better every single time I see it. Very excited about that.
I think that's going to be around 30 or 40 because it does kind of have a reputation behind it, considering the whole Rare development team, and it does look like something that would be made by like a AAA developer, just in terms of how much content is in the game and how good the game looks so far. So I think it'll be more than the usual $15, $20.
I think it looks
Plus,
like
it has Shovel Knight
game.
in it, so it's worth more than $20.
I would pay $60 for Yooka-Laylee.
Like, it's worth more than 20, but yeah, I would pay 60 too. I just think it's going to be priced around $30, $40.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it was, just because I guess it still technically is an indie game, and in their opinion, they might do that just to make it more of a budget release. But it is a full-fledged AAA experience. That game is worth $60. If we want to move on from this topic, there is a interesting thing on Twitter I just saw, and it says gay penguins break up. New York City's most famous gay penguin couple has split up. Fox News wrote this article, so I would just like everyone to know that the gay penguin couple in New York City is now broken up. So There we
You
go.
just ruined my day.
Well, that's unfortunate for that penguin couple, I have to say.
It is unfortunate. Love wins. Love always wins. That's what we've come to figure out. And if these penguins want to, shove their penis in the other one's butthole, they should be allowed to do that. But yeah, I'm sorry that emotions got in the way and they felt the need to split the knot. So
should we talk about VR?
Oh yeah, of course. Look at that transition. So whatever you want to talk about, go for it.
I guess let's all start with what did you first like when we first heard about like the Oculus Rift? Were you really excited about VR coming out, or were you not really excited about it? Like, what did everyone think?
My first thought was, are the games actually going to be better? And they don't look like they are. And VR is cool. It's
Not
just
yet.
motion controls over again. That's it.
It's such a new tech. The games are not going to be there for a few years probably. 'Cause it's just so new.
I disagree. I was excited about the announcement of the Oculus. I think everyone was always concerned about what the price point is. That still continues to be an issue. I think that it does have a very strong future, though, honestly. I don't think it's going to be a temporary gimmick like motion controls the same way. I think that eventually the price point's going to drop down much lower. And then for certain kinds of games, I think it's going to be like the thing to do because like
horror games. Absolutely.
Horror games, it's gonna be really
VR
great
is
for
perfect
horror
for horror.
games. It's gonna be like the only way
Simulations.
you'll want to play flight sims, especially like space combat simulators, like Eve Valkyrie. I am still really wanting to play, and I think that that experience or like Star Citizen, those have the potential to be really mind blowing, amazing gameplay experiences. And I think that like. And I think Star Wars Battlefront is also like coming out with a VR experience for PlayStation VR. I think I saw that earlier today. I don't remember, but yeah, like I think that
The next
after
Resident
you
Evil is going to be all
experience
VR
flight
too.
sims in VR, there's going to be like no other way you want to play flight sims at that point, because that's the only genre where and of course horror games too, but like that's one of the only categories of games where you're sitting in place. And it makes sense for like VR to work because like when you're sitting in your chair at home and you're looking around, it is like you're in a cockpit. So like I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I didn't want anyone to write off what I said as like, it's just motion controls. No, I mean it's motion controls in the sense that right now it's something that can be mildly restrictive. It's technology that I see as gimmicky still because the games haven't shown me that
they're not here yet.
That it needs it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some of the games that have come out that I look at and I'm like, that's cool, but I mean, I don't see anything that's really benefiting from it yet. I do want the price to go down a little bit, but I understand because the technology is fairly advanced. I'm sure that they are right on the brink of making money on the PSVR.
Yeah.
And I would like to play Resident Evil 7 in VR. I just won't do that for a while because I just simply, that is not a $400 experience to me. It's just not.
I read a really good article that was written by, I don't remember who it was, but it was basically like an article saying, like it was like addressing all the AAA developers and saying like, please don't develop for VR right now, essentially. And it made a few good points. The idea basically being that like right now we're in an early adopter stage. I think the price still needs to get cut in half, but it being in an early adopter stage, it basically means that for the user interface of VR, developers, especially indies, are still trying to figure out like what the hell is going to be the standard. It's kind of like how like Star Fox Zero pissed everyone off because it tried to change the standard. We came to know that you for that type of a game, or for pick any category, like shooters, we know that like this is how you're supposed to use the joysticks for the camera. This is how buttons are generally used. We're usually going to have a shoulder button be the trigger and all this stuff. Like we learned these things over time, and right now VR is in that stage where we're waiting for those breakout titles to happen and for developers to figure out what's going to be the best experience for the user. And the trouble with AAAs is that they're going to come out with whatever their huge mainline titles are that have already sold like 40, 50 million copies plus, and they're basically just going to slap a headset on there, slap a few little like controls in there for the port. It's going to be really terrible, and then it's going to turn a bunch of people away from VR because like everyone will spend money on those bigger titles and decide, oh, VR sucks. But really it doesn't. It's just that like the AAAs are just doing a cash grab basically.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Batman Arkham VR.
It's going to get better over time. I mean, like pretty much all technology kind of sucks when it first comes out. And speaking of prices, like pretty much every piece of technology is super expensive at first. Like TVs, super expensive. The iPhone, super expensive.
Well, the iPhone's still expensive.
Like pretty much anything you can. Well, I mean, yeah, that was kind of a bad example, but point being, like anything that's brand new, it's going to cost a lot, and it won't be implemented properly at first because we don't understand how to use the technology yet.
Now with VR, I'm not gonna sit here with my coffee and my scarf and be like, it's the future of games, guys. But I don't believe
like a
that.
hipster?
Oh yeah, like a hipster, totally. I don't believe that we can ride it off yet. But I do worry about what you're talking about, Scott, with people playing those washed down, shitty experiences of VR and saying like, wow, this is it. This is what I paid $400 for, just this gimmick. I worry about that because there are some games, so I'm like, you would benefit very well from a virtual reality world. Like the thought of playing an Ace Combat game in VR has me excited, or a Star Fox game in VR, or playing Resident Evil 7 in VR sounds brilliant. Those are the things.
Be great.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many games that would benefit so much from VR, but we haven't got there yet, and I'm waiting for it. And then I think another problem.
I think another problem that might come up, though, is that people will probably get pretty disoriented from playing this thing because I've heard a lot of people, they play for like 30 minutes or an hour and then they can't play anymore because they're either dizzy or feel nauseous. That's a really big problem. Like I don't know what they can do to solve that. I don't know if we just have to get used to the technology or they can.
I can speak to a little bit of that because one thing that is a huge problem is that it has a lot to do with frame rates, first of all. So, like, if a game ever drops below 60 frames a second in VR, it's essentially unacceptable, and that's one of the big things that will cause someone to feel nauseous or take off their headset and throw up everywhere. Because basically, the brain doesn't, like down at a low level, it doesn't know the difference between. I'm not going to say like it flat out doesn't know the difference between virtual reality and reality. It does. You do consciously, but what I mean is the sensory portions of the brain don't. And when a lot of games, they do run pretty consistently at 60 FPS, but like sometimes with like stuff that has to do with AI or like if you're playing on lower grade hardware, there's times when the game will, even for a short few seconds or even milliseconds, will drop below 60, maybe go down to 30, maybe go down to even 20-something frames per second. And when that happens, that's going to cause a huge amount of disorientation in the user. So the big key to making VR pleasant and not making people sick, to a large extent, it has to do with frame rates. Now, that being said, unfortunately, there's a number of people out there who I think they'll probably never be able to play VR.
Yeah, that's what's upsetting to me is we're still at the stage in VR where it is a very, I guess, single-minded technology. I mean, it's not something that you can experience with other people at the same time, and that's what's really unfortunate about it. I want them to work out something to where you can both experience, the same game at once. I mean, or having a group of people watch you play something. That's something that sucks about it is it's a very single player locked experience right now. Plus the whole thing with you feeling sick, that also sucks. I mean, I've played on an Oculus, I've played on, the Samsung Gear VRs, and I haven't played on an HTC Vive yet. I hear that that's kind of shitty, and I haven't played on is it actually just called PlayStation VR or is it called Morpheus? I mean, what's the actual name?
I think it's
called PlayStation VR.
Oh, okay.
But they've just released it a few days ago, I believe.
Yeah. I couldn't remember the actual name. I know the code name was Morpheus because of like the Matrix. But I don't see this technology being where it needs to be for another 5 to 10 years, just personally. I mean, yeah, maybe that's accelerated because maybe the gaming industry will push it hard enough, but I just don't think that they will. I just unfortunately see this being something that they're going to push for a year and then scrap and then come back with, I guess, when they've revamped it. I don't know.
Yeah, once technology can very easily push out 60 frames a second and have it look really good as well, I think that's when we'll start to see VR implemented into more stuff. Because right now there are still systems that struggle with 60 frames. Like obviously PS4, Xbox One, a lot of those games can barely run 60 frames.
A lot of them are locked at 30.
It has a lot.
I mean, the Wii U has more 60 FPS games, I feel like, than the other two.
I can also tell you guys that it has a lot to do with what's going on at the software level, computationally, because
That was like such an outbreak of
no, yeah, it has a lot to do with like the code of the game, seriously, because like yeah, resolution matters, yeah, like graphics card matters, you know, how well the PlayStation can handle stuff, but it all goes back to the software.
I'm more interested in the fact that you can play, like you can do the cinematic mode thing. Have you guys heard about this? By the way, you can actually hook up your Wii U and your Xbox One and your PC to the PlayStation VR, and you can play those games in like a theater. That to me is much more interesting than playing the actual game in VR.
That's cool.
Because I just think that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know that.
That is cool.
Well, are we ready for some questions?
Let's do it. Let's do some questions. We got a lot this week.
Do some questions, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
This one is from Ewan James Lowell. He asks, what is the best and worst console controller?
Ooh.
My opinion, the best console controller is probably an Xbox 360 controller or a Super Nintendo controller. That's usually what I go to.
What about the worst?
Probably a 64 controller. I hate that thing. I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I disagree about the N64 controller. I think the worst. I think the Japanese Super Famicom controller was atrocious, where the cable comes out the side. I just was reminded of that like yesterday, watching something on IGN. But like they're coming out with the Super Famicom Mini in Japan.
Yeah.
And the controller is going to be the same way, where like it's wired to the console. And it comes out the side. I just can't imagine.
And they're tiny. They're so small.
Yeah. That's got to be the worst.
What about your best controller?
Yeah, that's going to be the new worst. I would say either the Sega Master System controller. That controller was absolutely atrocious. And the N64 controller. Those are probably... I don't know. The Atari Jaguar controller was pretty shit too. And I thought the Dreamcast controller also sucked. So, yeah, I have a lot.
I like the Xbox 360 controller as it exists, or basically the Xbox controller as it exists today, and I also think that the SNES. I really like the SNES controller, which is weird, but I think that like for the time it just worked so well, and like I don't know, there's something about like the way that it introduced shoulder buttons and like
and the 4-button layout. That
yeah.
controller did so much.
I mean, it just did a really good job. It's weird, but I really liked it.
Yeah. Still comfortable to play on today. It's still one of my favorite D-pads.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I love that controller so much.
It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Nady boy?
I'd probably say my favorite would be the GameCube controller.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's strange. Like, that controller, it looks so weird, but it plays so
really
well.
like it too.
That's one of the most sturdy
that's my third
controllers
favorite.
of all time. Least favorite, I'm actually going to say the Wii Remote and Nunchuck.
Oh, yeah.
They're stupid. Like, yeah, okay.
How did I forget
works,
that?
I get it. But, come on. A remote and a little waggle dildo. That's what I got for a controller. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's so unintuitive. How did I forget that? Yeah, that thing's shit. Oh, my God. Yeah, N64 controller's way better than that.
Yeah, I'd rather use an N64 controller than a Wii Remote and Nunchuck.
I'm weird. I really liked the N64 controller. Even though it has like a purposeless
I would like it
third
if
handle.
the joystick was good.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, of course the joystick was atrocious, but when they're brand new, it was a good controller.
Oh, in the 90s? Oh, it was perfect. I was
Yeah,
like, this is
it
the
was great.
future. But
And it was.
And then I got older and the GameCube came out and I was like, oh god, that's shit. Yeah. Well, we got some interesting questions here. What gaming genre do you want to see a reemergence or increase, and why? It was by Sloopy J, aka the guy whose questions we answer every single week.
You already
Thank you, by the
know
way.
my answer to this, I'm sure.
Probably real-time strategy. I'm
Of
just
course, real-time strategy. Absolutely.
Uh,
It had its heyday in the 90s. If you weren't there, you wouldn't understand. I sound like an old person right now, but man, it needs to. We need another like giant AAA real-time strategy game that breaks new ground. I really think we need that.
I'd be down for like a new good SimCity. I'd be down for that. Get Bowser
Another
back in there
roller
so you can
coaster
wreck your town
tycoon.
again. That'd be good.
Actually, I'm one of those people
I'd be down
who
for another
liked
roller
The
coaster
Sims.
tycoon.
I don't know
That'd be
why I
cool.
did, but I always thought that the first Sims game was so much better than any of the sequels. I wish they would just make a really great new Sims game, because I've never seen that. I really just want them to do what they did with the first one, but just update all the graphics. It's weird.
Yeah,
but
I'd be down for that.
yeah.
I'm sure me and Nate's answer is going to be 3D platformers.
3D platformers. And it might come back if Ukulele does really well. So there's definitely hope in the future for that genre to really start to reemerge again.
I think it is.
We
I think
need-
it's coming back.
We need everyone to buy it, and then we need everyone to go to Nathaniel's channel and watch all of his ROM hacks of Mario 64, and then we will send that to Nintendo and say, please convert all your 2D platformers that you have into 3D games again. Let that happen.
And then they will take down
Please.
Nathaniel's channel.
Yes. And I will
'Cause
finally...
yeah, using ROM hacks.
I will finally have control. Yeah. I feel like we have a healthy
Alright.
amount of every other genre, but I feel like 3D platformers really kind of went by the wayside in the 6th generation of consoles.
And space sims. I want space. I want. I really am worried about what's going to happen with Star Citizen, which, like, if you don't know, is one of the biggest, most ridiculously backed games on Kickstarter, and it's really huge. There's cajillions of dollars in it now. But I just want them to finish part of it and just have it be polished and good. And I'm really worried that that project is just going to be a massive, colossal money burner, and then it's going to tank. I haven't checked up on it in a while, but man, I remember what like Wing Commander and Free Space 2 were like, and I just want to see a really great space sim come out again. And if they could make a Star Fox game that's an actual space sim, but like Star Fox, that's what I've been waiting for too. Yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. So I want space sims, man.
Yeah, I'd be down for Space Sims too. But we also have one more here from it just says James. So
James.
thank you, James.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, thanks, James. How has video games impacted life with your friends and family?
Well, I wouldn't be talking to you guys if it wasn't for video games.
Yeah.
What about your friends and family, Nathaniel?
Well, I would consider you guys friends, I would say.
I mean,
But not
okay,
family?
What about your family?
Honestly, hasn't really impacted my family, but they could care less about them. They are not involved. Like if I talk to relatives about, oh yeah, I make a YouTube channel. What do? I make stuff about video games. They're like, oh yeah, like the Mario thing, the Donkey Kong thing. I'm like, yeah, yep, that's exactly what I do. And then the conversation just
So
stopped.
are your parents kind of just sort of oblivious about like why you do what you do is on YouTube and such?
They were at first. They did not understand it at all. Like I remember, actually, my mom told me when YouTube first came out that it was a bad site. It had viruses on it, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. But as time has moved on, they've become much more accepting. My dad's definitely much more supportive of me doing this. My mom not so much, because she's worried about it not being a secure job, and it's not a secure job. It's a very risky thing to be doing.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's art in general. Pursuing any type, like what we talked about yesterday, pursuing any type of art is risky. It's just one of those
It's
things
risky,
where you have to ride that line of doing what you want to do and then do something that's going to have some financial backing too. It's just part
Yeah.
of it.
yep.
Even if you're a Hollywood actor, you can become irrelevant tomorrow. It's just that's media.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, I feel like. No, really, I didn't mean that to be a
I
shot.
completely agree. That's so true.
But like, look at Mel Gibson. I mean, that dude was so popular in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, and then he fell off.
Like,
after
who's Mel
I
Gibson now?
think he had I think he had some allegations or something against him in like the mid thousands, and he was completely irrelevant until this past year. I mean, yeah,
Man.
like really.
I'll tell you, pretty much every single YouTuber, no matter if they have 10 million subscribers or a million or 100,000, every day they worry if they're going to become irrelevant because it can happen in an instant.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, yeah. Look at us.
Jacob's like,
I'm
it's
slowly
already
climbing my way
channel.
back. Yeah, I'm slowly climbing my way back into relevancy. It'll happen.
You're coming back in, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Been
just
doing this
needed a
for-
break. That's all. And
Yeah.
that's the worst thing that you can need whenever you're in media, because if you need a break, you become irrelevant. So, yeah,
Pretty much.
it's
yeah.
fun.
I think that's
It's fun.
especially
It's
true.
fun doing entertainment.
It's especially true on YouTube. If you stop, you just you take a hit really strongly. So
People will actually think you're dead, like legitimately dead.
Yeah, really.
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
like, no, I just went on vacation for like a week. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you alive? Are you okay? Yes. Chill.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
fine.
I
Oh my
am a
God.
human being just like you. I don't live in my computer. So
Man, games has been so huge for me because, okay, like for modern day, I could talk about everything over the years, but like right now for me, it's a struggle with like working as much as I do, and then I've had that this project of the game I've been working on for about a year, and it doesn't really matter that the public at large has no idea what it is and has never heard of it and probably won't hear about it. Like the fact that I've worked on it for a year, every weekend, a lot of the time, like after work in the evenings and stuff. My girlfriend and I have been together for like 3 years, and it is kind of a struggle to find time with her. And like I think in the past, occasionally that's been kind of an issue. And like when you're building a game, it's like it's totally different, because then you're like extremely into gaming at that point. Like you have to be in order to actually create something that is that is anything really. Like it's a lot of work to create a game, and so if you have a project like that, it leaves a mark. But then I can think back to when I was younger, and like I remember playing games with my dad, and I think overall in my house, like for my family, it was always such a huge positive, because it brought people together, including I have 2 older brothers. It brought me and my brothers together, and like when we were like not getting along, we could sometimes like cool the jets and sit down and play Street Fighter or whatever. Like that's kind of what the SNES was for my household, and for that reason that's where a lot of the nostalgia comes from for me. But yeah, man, like I would not be the same person if it were not for video games. And that's a strong statement, but that's what a lot of the people in our current generation can say, because it wasn't until recently that like we all grew up with games, and it's bigger than Hollywood. It's bigger than movies. It's bigger than a lot of people are playing games instead of reading books. But yeah, I mean it's just a part of culture now.
yeah, that's the cool thing about it too, is it's so much more approachable, like with the public too. I mean, you can talk about games a lot more than you used to be able to, and I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just I wouldn't be the same, and I know a lot of people like personally who probably wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, I kind of had a very similar experience to you, Scott, with my brother and my family. That was a huge bonding thing with my family. Is when I was younger. I mean, that's why I have such a love for arcade games, is because I would play, I mean, every Namco game like to date with my dad. My dad and my mom both like Namco stuff a lot, and they're pretty much just what I would just call, I guess, ordinary people. I mean, they really don't have much to do with gaming aside from like those old arcade games and then just things on the NES and the Atari. I mean, that's pretty much as far as they went.
You've mentioned
like my
you've mentioned Duck Hunt. I remember before, like you and your, I think it's you and your dad playing Duck Hunt. That was like a big deal.
Oh yeah. Me and my dad played Duck Hunt all the time when I was younger. And then me and my dad's sister would play Metroid. Actually, because she's a huge fan of Metroid, and she's actually getting an NES Mini for Metroid because she just wants to play Metroid again really bad. And yeah, I just a lot of those retro games. I mean, I feel like I played those a whole lot more than any current generation thing my whole life. I mean, I still to this day, every week I will play like 2 or 3 rounds of Galaga. I play it all the time. I mean, Galaga is my favorite game of all time. I play that. I play Mappy, Pac-Man, Mrs. Pac-Man, Tower of Duraga.
Those games are awesome.
Like everything Namco related. They're probably one of my favorite companies in terms of games. But yeah, I would play. That's why me and my dad would kind of had like a tradition where we would get all the Namco Museum games and like always play through them together. Kind of up until like the Wii and like that Namco Museum Remix game. We loved that. Played that a lot. But yeah, with me and my brother, I mean, that's where my love of Diddy Kong Racing comes in because that was like one major thing that we bonded over. I mean, I like hundreds of hours of playing that game with him, and he still to this day cannot beat WizPig, and it always makes me laugh because I was always the only one who could beat WizPig. So that kind of made me feel cool. So
yeah, I'm also reminded of as far as like bringing people together. I forgot about this, but like it's kind of a recent development. My girlfriend is more into Pokemon Go than I ever was. She's like hardcore like Pokemon Go. So occasionally we leave the apartment to go out and play Pokemon. Which I think
that's love.
Yeah, that was the case for like a lot of people like right after that game's launch. But she is one of the people who is still every single day playing that game, and she loves it. It's really weird. Say what you want about Pokemon Go, but that's a positive.
That's cool. That's cool. I think with that, I think I'm good.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah. We're back.
We're back.
We're in action.
Jacob is back. I forgot to say that at the beginning. I hope people will leave comments and say, Jacob is back! Because people love saying that.
I didn't leave the channel again.
We were only gone for a week, people.
See, the best part about me doing a new series is I can't wait for all the comments of people saying like, oh, Jacob's doing a new series again. And so I can be like, I'm going to leave the channel after this one. Yep. Self-deprecating humor, everyone. So, right. Nathaniel, where can the lovely people find you this week?
Don't worry about where to find me. I am selling some really cool Nathaniel Bandy shirts. If you'd like to pick one up, there will be a link in the description. That's all I got to say. They're only available until October 24th, so you only have, what day is it? 15th or 16th? Like a week or so, if you want to get one.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
If you want something from me and Nathaniel, that's a little slice of love that you can have for me. I did the designs for them. And,
yes, Jacob.
And Nathaniel is the brand behind them. So if you want to have a little piece of me and Nathaniel's heart, you can have that by purchasing one of his shirts, and that's the only way you can get it.
That's really very strange because I did purchase one of those shirts. So now I get to have that, Jacob. Thank you so much.
You get to have me feel you every time you put that shirt on.
Every single time. That work of you and Nathaniel is just going to cover my body.
Just going to cover that patch of chest hair on you. It's going to be so great.
It's going to be wonderful.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited
all of you can have the same experience if you buy one of his shirts. I can feel your body through my art.
It'll be amazing.
So, Scott, where can the people find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Scott Lee or the website scottfreecapital.com.
Cool. And you know where I'm at. I'm at Indie Jacob on Twitter and right here on Digicade. So with that, thank you all for listening very much. We always appreciate your ears and your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But especially your ears.
Yeah, especially those ears.
And your body. We love whispering in your ears, too.
Goodbye after you buy a t-shirt. Bye.
Or a coffee mug.